Hi, this is Danielle and Jonathan Kepperling with Kepperling Preservation Services for our preservation coffee break for June 10th. I've had a busy day. I've been up since 4:30 because I had to make a delivery to Philadelphia. I think I got in and out before the protesters, so they must have been sleeping.
Probably.
so I was at a job site visit just a couple, an hour and a half ago or so, and I'm like, up there at the precipice, I'm like, oh, that's the wrong word, it's a parapet. And I'm like, but I didn't tell them that I was tired. I just told them that I just said I knew I was close. I couldn't remember the right word. So anyway, today we're going to talk about storm windows. And so when you're talking, when you talk to people about window restoration, typically someone who's knowledgeable about preservation will tell you that a properly maintained wood window that has been weather stripped and is in good shape with a storm window is just as efficient as a replacement window. And that's true, but there's there are replacement window options, but there are storm window options also. So for there's interior and exterior. So that's the first thing you have to decide. That's the first decision. And exterior are nice because they protect the window. They stop, most of the weathering, the rain, the wetness, the moisture from getting on the window. The drawbacks that I hear people, especially the interior storm people, is that they take away from what the house looks like, or should have looked like, was originally looked like. Now I will say that there used to be really chunky storm windows, and chunky is a very technical term. But now they are making exterior storms that are lower profile, similar to the interior storms. And they also have like a UV glass. Like there's a lot of advancements in the engineering and technology of storm windows that you can use to enhance your windows. Typically the exterior storm windows are aluminum. The exterior is metal. Mm-hmm. Inside there's other options. There's like a cushiony neoprene. Yep. And there's vinyl that also has flexibility. So if your windows aren't square, they fit in. There's also metal for the interior too. There's many different companies that make them. Some make custom colors. Some just have like their standard colors, but if you're white or beige or some of those, then they you can match those. The interior, I think, a drawback for the interior is the screen issue. So if you don't leave your house conditioned all the time, like if you like to open the windows and have fresh air in and out, I recommend an exterior storm with a screen. Just for ease. Now there are some interior storms that have like the bottom panels will pop out, or or you can take the entire panel off and store that and put the screen on. But it seems like a lot of extra work to me. But that's a personal preference. It doesn't change the energy efficiency of the window. No. So there's multiple companies that make interior and exterior storms. Quanta panel, which is in Lancaster, they actually manufacture maybe 4 or 5 blocks from where we are. He's Jay Ryer, I think that's his last name, has been a podcast guest also. They make the exterior storms that we've been putting on most recently. I think they do make an interior storm. We haven't used those, have we?
Their interiors, no.
No, we haven't used their interiors, but their exteriors, we like them. And they can match custom colors and things. For the interior options, and a lot of the interior companies also make exterior, but when we were talking about like the neoprene, that's Indo. They're out of Portland, Oregon. And if you don't have an Indo representative near you, they will send you actually the kit with the laser measurer, and you can measure your windows and send everything back to them, and then they, you know, they can make it that way. But because there's that cushion, there's a little bit of play with and theirs are not glass. That's one thing that's nice about theirs that I haven't remembered. They're a commercial acrylic.
Yeah, that's what it's acrylic.
Yeah, they're a commercial acrylic. So they actually are lighter. They're a little bit flexible, but they're also lighter. If you have big windows, you have to move them in and out. They're a little bit lighter from a you know, the weight of the actual storm window, especially if you're taking them off and on. The other one that I talked about, the vinyl, is Interglass. They've probably been around the longest. I know they've been on Old House Journal or This Old House, and they have a good product. And then I'm trying to think of who else does the other interiors that we've installed a lot of Allied. Is there any?
There's probably more we installed.
There's options, and so you just have to decide, you know, what the best use, how you're going to use your window, how you use your house, if it's always conditioned, or if you open the windows, if you want screens, if the amount of protection. And one thing with the protecting on the outside is that the amount that you have to paint will probably be reduced, because your sash is not getting that wet.
Getting the weathering from the rain and the sun and everything else. The only thing is, when you install the storm windows, a lot of them require you to caulk it. If you do not leave the weep holes on the bottom open, you just now created more of a problem than anything.
Right. So
that's one thing.
Yeah, you have to make sure that the condensation, because there will be condensation built up between whichever storm window, whether it's an interior or an exterior, and the sash, because you're creating that air pocket between the cold air and the warm air. So what you need to do then is to make sure that there are weep holes so that the moisture can escape. Otherwise, I've seen sash that have rotted from the condensation.
Because somebody caulked it completely in. So
yeah, just make sure the little weep holes at the bottom are open and that the air can transfer. It's old houses need to breathe. It's some people want to seal everything so tight that there's no air exchange, and
that creates a whole nother problem there.
I understand that from a paying for your energy standpoint, but from a maintenance standpoint in a house, understanding the way the house works, it doesn't make sense.
And the only other thing about storm windows, each company will measure from different spots.
No, that's
for
true.
Everything.
To ask for their worksheet.
So you need to get their clarification on where they want their measurements taken from. Some want the common rail from the top, some want it from the bottom, some want both. You got to get that instructions from them.
And that is one nice thing about ordering a custom storm window, and I don't even know if there is a non-custom storm window. I don't think you can just walk into a big box store and buy a storm window. But is that you can make sure that your common rail and your median rail, where the two double hung sash come together, where that lines up with the storm window, so it makes it less visible to your eyes because sometimes they go up higher or lower than that line, and then it draws your attention to it. So that Jonathan's right, though. We have run into problems with people not measuring correctly. So just make sure you know where they want their dimensions from so that they will fit, especially if they're not square, which is very typical in.
Yep. Then you got to figure the closest measurements, because a lot of them do not make them out of square.
Yeah, because especially if they're metal.
Because they don't want to take the chance on it.
Yeah.
So you gotta know where the shortest measurement is that you can use and stuff like that. So
anyway, well, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, make sure you join us on a Wednesday live, and we can answer them, or email your questions, Danielle at practicalpreservationservices.com, and I will answer your questions at our next coffee break. Have a good week.